All right, well, what I wanted to chat about today is
something super smart, I'm hoping, because I've got a guest today and I really don't want you embarrassing me in front of them. They might think that all I do is argue with people who say very silly things all the time.
But your guest is the guy who hears the silly things and treats them seriously. Honestly, I'm not sure which is worse.
Pfft, taking things seriously. You're on the wrong channel, buddy.
evolution, the anti-science.
God damn it. Oh, well, you've gone and done it now, haven't you? Anyway, hey Paul, how's it going? Welcome to my terrible channel for terrible people. It's too late to back out now.
Frank Turek was wrong. Hell is locked from the outside.
Look, I told you, if you're going to work with me, I was going to bring down the quality of your content and reputation. You just never bothered to ask how far.
Because we've all heard this secular narrative that evolution is the scientific view.
That's not the secular narrative, that's just the factual facts about facts. Evolution is science. It is a very important science. In fact, it is such an important science that the ramifications are far-reaching as to our understanding of how the natural world works. Things that, mind you, have never even come close to being explained by big books written by ignorant liars. Not that I know of any of those.
Just wait till Jason finds out that there are way more Christians who affirm evolution than there are professed atheists.
And evolution in the Darwinian sense, along with the Big Bang and the billions of years, the deep time.
I'm not exactly sure what this Darwinian sense is. Is it like spider sense?
I think he means biological evolution, as opposed to Kent Hovind's 6 types of evolution. You know, cosmic evolution, chemical evolution, evolution of dance, evolution of Mechagodzilla. I think I might have missed one.
Evolution is just evolution, until of course someone comes along and redefines it in a way that makes it, well, not actually evolution anymore. I'm not sure why one might do that, because it would be like you were arguing with something you just made up instead of, you know, science. And how would that help you? Not at all. Unless, of course, you're a massive, dishonest dickhead. But that never happens on this channel.
And the narrative is that creation is unscientific, right? Believing in the Bible, you know, that's not science.
Believing in the Bible categorically is not science. There is no science that's about reading a book and going, yep, this is the only book I need for life, lol. But that doesn't mean that someone who believes in the Bible, so to speak, can't also be scientifically literate. Unless they're a creationist when all bets are off, as that shit is hot garbage.
Well, actually, the Bible's a history book. It gives us the true origins of the universe.
That is a bold fucking claim there, bucko. You got anything to back that up? Or is it, well, I believe it, therefore it must be true? Because the problem with the Bible as both a history book and anything even remotely historically accurate is that it constantly gets things wrong. Like seriously, I have never seen a work of supposed fact be so wrong so often in such grand ways that one would be hard-pressed to not think of it as the ravings of the world's most stoned moron. And I don't mean injecting the pot stoned, I mean pummeled repeatedly with rocks directly to the bonds.
And when we're asking about origins, we're really asking a history question, not a science question.
As if history and science are these two completely independent fields with absolutely no overlap. Your weasel words are powerful, but they do not work on me and my dumb ass. No, not you, Paul. You're my smart ass.
I never get to be badass or kick ass, just wise ass. Seems ageist. But let's roll with Jason's specious conflation for a minute and see where that gets us on a pure history versus science comparison. Both science and history, at their best, attempt to ascertain truth about the natural world through the collection of evidence, putting forth hypotheses, making predictions about future data, and looking for best explanations for observations. Both science and history are subject to change as new information becomes available. Science theories and historical interpretations can be revised and overturned based on new discoveries, so there's definitely overlap.
And so it makes sense to consult a history book.
Right, so anything but the Bible, yeah? I mean, the thing about history books is they rely, much like science, on this little thing we call evidence. And not only that, but the evidence has to be best explained by whatever conclusion about the past we've come to, not just what you want it to mean.
Here's Jason's shell game. By calling it history instead of origin science, he gets to trick the audience into swapping their mental image of lab coats, microscopes, rulers, and data with a dusty professor reading ancient books, thereby making reasonable his reliance on an ancient book. Sure, they're both the past, but the study of human past, the actions of agents, isn't the same as studying the natural past. When Jason smuggles in an agent, he's begging the question, assuming his conclusion in his premise. That's a logical fallacy. Thanks to TV, most people have some understanding of the most obvious historical science, forensics. That's attempting to use the scientific method to shed light on a one-time event that can't be recreated. It's based on observations, comparisons, and yes, even making predictions about future data. For example, if it seems a murder victim was poisoned, they predict finding something in the stomach contents, bloodstream, or perhaps a needle mark. That predicted discovery is either made or it is not, and the hypothesis is supported or refuted. Young Earthers want to lean on the science is repeatable line, and forensics is repeatable. It's that we repeat observations, not that we repeat events. The blood spatter can be observed by many and compared over and over to a catalog of blood spatter patterns.
But it's what I find very ironic is this claim that evolution is the scientific view, because I found that the exact opposite is true.
This is the "I know you are, but what am I?" of apologetics.
I mean, yeah, it is literally the scientific view. Talking nonsense isn't going to change that. And what I find really ironic is that you think you know anything about science whatsoever and feel the need to tell people who actually have a solid grasp of it that they are wrong because has the history book. And what the fuck does the exact opposite of evolution is true even mean? I think the exact opposite of evolution as it functions in nature would be that natural selection favours the worst traits, and they are what survive. And not gonna lie, that does explain the humans and how awful they are.
Namely, creation is the scientific position because it's what makes science possible.
You and your insane proclamations? Would you stop? No, obviously not. You know that science is a human invention, right? There is no scientific method that exists as part of the universe. It's something humans came up with to explain the universe. It doesn't come from it or anything else. So no, bad creationist. Stop being so dumb.
The scientific method is based on the premise that biblical creation is true.
No, it isn't. Look, I know what you're getting at here, and even if someone has to make and control the fundamental forces of the universe for them to work, that would have literally nothing to do with biblical creation, because the Bible is not a factual book on facts. Of course, you also can't, as of yet, demonstrate that the universe needs a creator in any way, so yeah, well done, you am so smart.
The scientific method is based on the premise that nature has behaved the same way in the past and will behave the same way in the future as it behaves today. A supernatural worldview is the one that insists that properties of nature can and will be tampered with.
And if you recognize that, then really anyone can refute evolution.
Translation: if you posit that unprovable claim, you can just go, evolution, I'm dumb. Then stick your fingers in your ears so no one will ever be able to point out how completely asinine what you said was, because you won't be able to hear it. And if you can't hear science, it can't be true. Also, you can attempt to refute anything based on anything, yes, but that doesn't actually mean you proved that it was wrong, just that you have an objection. And as we all know, your objections are weak at best.
This is the nuh-uh of apologetics.
By pointing out that science is predicated on 3 biblical creation principles.
This smacks very much of a child screaming, "No, my ideas aren't unscientific, your ideas are unscientific, because my uncle works for science and he said that science is actually mine and I can do what I want with it. And I even got to play with the new science that's not even out yet. And when I told them they should change it to how I think it should be, they gave me a job and a bar of gold and a pony because of how smart I am."
I can't help but notice how often it makes sense to compare Jason to a toddler.
And they are the following. First of all, the reliability of our senses.
No? Oh, you want me to elaborate? Okay, fine. Your senses are just about the least reliable part of all of science. If not the most unreliable, it's certainly up there. In fact, the lack of repeatability to people's senses is a massive part of why we do science the way we do it. Because we don't base findings on what we think we see. We base it on the results that stack up between all of us. That way, if someone presents results that are way out of line with everybody else's, we can assume that something caused them to observe a different result from everyone else. And perhaps Nick Fury isn't quite as equipped for this depth perception experiment as he seems to think he is. He is still a badass though, so I'm not going to tell him.
Once again, I'm not the badass.
Not the badass. Oh right, just a badass then. Gotcha.
The idea that what I see and what I taste and touch and smell and hear and so on is basically real. That my senses are informing me truly about the external universe.
Yes, and thankfully there's no such thing as hallucinations or phantom smells or myriad other examples of times when people perceive things that aren't actually there. Thank God for making us so utterly flawless. I mean, it's amazing just how perfect and not correction needing people really are. Paul, I'm over here. Put your fucking glasses on. You're about to walk into traffic, for fuck's sake.
Screw you, Sick. I'm not old enough to be Mr. Magoo. Wait, you're too young to even know who that is, aren't you? Damn it.
Yes, I know who Mr. Magoo is. Now watch out for that truck.
Second, the rationality of the mind. The idea that our mind is basically capable of using laws of logic, considering the various options, and then choosing the best.
Stop being so hilarious, damn it. I mean, yeah, some humans are capable of that. But damn, have you met, people? Most of them couldn't do that if you tied them to a rationality tree and beat them with reason sticks. And even those who can often have to, choose to do that and work on it every day because human minds are so predisposed to complete gibbering irrationality. Case in point.
And then third, that there's regularity in nature.
Right, okay, so there is generally regularity in nature.
Fiber and probiotics are all natural, after all.
Paul, was that a poop joke? Proud of you. But that doesn't stop it from doing weird stuff. And the fact that there is any randomness at all is the reason that a lot of it is here. And don't get me started on how irregular people can be. All different shapes and sizes and interests and tastes and all that jazz. And thank non-existo for all that. I wouldn't want to live in a world where everything was all the same. Well, unless it was all whiskey, that would be okay.
That there are patterns to be discovered. Science would do no good discovering patterns if there weren't any.
I mean, he's not wrong, but at the same time, I'm not actually 100% sure where he gets the idea that creation, science, has any idea what patterns in nature are, what they mean, or that it even looks for them. As I understand it, the only pattern they understand is God did it, and then they move on. Well, to be fair, they do know that there are other patterns, it's just that they are fake and made up by Science TM to hide the truth, registered that the Earth is about as old as Paul.
And so these three principles, reliability of senses, rationality of the mind, regularity of nature, and I alliterated that for all the Baptists out there. So those three principles, now all scientists assume those principles are true, and you couldn't do science without them.
No, they really don't, and yes, they really could. Aside from things being somewhat regular, you absolutely can do science without reliable senses or even a necessarily rational mind, because it's about results. I mean, sure, those things help a lot, but the fact of the matter is, only the repeatability of experiments is needed for most sciencey type stuff to do its thing. You could have an idiot and a functionally blind old man do an experiment, and as long as they record their results every time, you're gonna end up doing a science to a reasonable degree. Shame we don't have anyone like that here, otherwise I would show you how it works.
Alright, well here's the part of the video where we go to my channel to finish Jason off.
I mean, alright, but an all-male threesome seems a bit off-brand for your show, doesn't it? And I'm not saying I ain't down, but does it have to be with this guy? Pretty sure bestiality is a sin.
That's right. Get it out of your system now. We're going to where the Christians are.
Well, okay, but only if this lot get to come with us and have the honour of subscribing to your channel, if they already haven't. Hint, hint, people, get it done. Come on.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. No, Wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the